This is lesson 3. This is about research methods. We're going into a little bit more depth here, but we're also actually making sure it's deep and secure knowledge. So we've introduced this last lesson in lesson 2. So now we're just going to go over it again just to make sure it's super clear. So you'll see some similar content, but we're actually going to make sure, hopefully it's a snappy lesson. You'll get through this one nice and quick. Last week was possibly more challenging, and the more we see it, the more confident you'll be in this topic. Just a reminder, Mario introduces the new topic to you. Peach reads the text to you. Got some new characters in here for you. Here's Yoshi. He's going to be just your checklist person. And this is Donkey Kong, as you probably know already. And his role is when you're super ridiculously super stuck. And he's there to try and clarify so that you are okay. Because if you stand from a distance, it actually looks like okay on his tie, so there's the loose actual connection. You know what. Daisy's nice and helps you out, and Luigi sets the tasks for you. Learning intentions for today then are to look at the different market research methods, to go over and secure the advantages and disadvantages of those methods of market research. You might pick up a bit of a vibe here that this is all about the methods of market research, and then we've got to make sure that we know what the methods are in terms of application, and we're going to look at some revision notes as well. Here's Yoshi with your list of what you need to do. Whilst the list looks very long, it's not actually as long as you think it is. There's a lot of matching up because it's making sure that this knowledge is secure with you. So we've got a couple of sentences to finish using Coca-Cola as an example for a first task. Then we've got some sketching to do about quantitative and qualitative data. Then, to make sure it's super secure, we've got the definitions, and you need to move them around again. Number 3 is matching the answers to the headings. So to make sure the definitions of each are super secure, I've given them to you. So you've got to do a bit of matching up. And there's a little extra in there as well. And number 4, we're looking at the market research methods that you need. Join them up again, because I've given them to you because I want to make sure that they're accurate, and without actually being there with you, then we can't have those chats, so I've got to do it like this way around. And number 5 is those icons, and the icon bit is important, and you are needed to do this. And what that means is that where we've covered some of the methods that I put in the lesson, it's about you finding an image, and that image makes you think of that particular piece of information. So this is quite personal to you, and these will be your revision cards. And then we do the same again for secondary. We're looking at secondary research icons, secondary advantages and disadvantages, and then we're done. And remember, Donkey Kong is there to make sure that you are okay, because remember, if you close one eye, the tie looks like it says okay. Last lesson recap then. First point, A, what is market research? That is the act in terms of finding out what customers' needs and wants are and identifying if there is a gap in the market. B is qualitative and quantitative research, so that's the type of answers that you get. Qualitative, if we break the word down, quality in there, so we can look at that in terms of quality opinions. And quantitative, we can break that word down, that's quantity. So that's, if you're looking at quantities, it's things that you can count. So quantitative research is about data. C is primary market research, so that's where you go out and do it yourself, that's first-hand information. And D is secondary market research. Let's go with the word and actually call it second-hand market research. It's research that's already been done. So there you go. Donkey Kong is there to check that you've super got that clear in your head. Well, here's Luigi with your first task. This is about data definitions. In your market research, you will find out about different types of information. Now these we've just covered in lesson recap, but let's go over them again and break them down. You can look at feelings, numbers, quantities, open questions, reasons, statistics, closed questions. So what your job is to finish the sentences below. Qualitative research finds out ... you fill that in, and there's an example of a question. Why do you buy Coca-Cola instead of Pepsi? That's a type of question that would give you a qualitative answer. So you just still write down what the qualitative means. And the second question, quantitative research. Do you buy Coca-Cola instead of Pepsi? Yes, no. And as you can see, the answer's there as well. Because if you think about it, with yes, no's, you can ask lots and lots of people, thousands of people, and you can count the answers. And if you can count the answers, then we can zoom over to the maths department and we can turn them into maybe geography department, and we turn them into those that visual thing with bars in them, and you can color code them, and some bars are taller than the other bars. What do we call them? ... Graphs. Well done. And your next task, presenting market research. Now, I must admit, this is probably one of my more favourite tasks. It's about sketching an idea. Sketch your idea in the boxes below, how you could present the results of research for each type. So, sticking with the same questions, qualitative, reasons why customers buy Coca-Cola. In that square there, sketch an idea of how you would show the answers to that one. And quantitative, you might start with this one. I don't know, you might have found that if you were listening to the last bit. Sketch an idea on how you present quantitative answers. Now this one, you might find that you can get it a lot quicker because of the words we looked at last time. Absolutely fine, sketch it in there and then see how it comes with the other one. If you can't come up with a sketch, you can sketch it by doing some written descriptions. Here we go with the next task. It's a bit of the same, but it's all jumbled in the wrong area. What you've got to do is match the definitions to the right heading. Now the first 4 definitions are all jumbled across to the right, and they're to do with the first 4 blue headings. So jumble them around and you'll find that they all match to one particular heading. So that's your first job. I do hope that you read and go through them. I hope that you find some keywords that you go straight to and it makes sense for you. Now there's a second part to this task. It's about the 2 extra definitions at the bottom, closed questions and open questions. Now there's a definition underneath each. You need to match them. So you match up these definitions to the black headings. But I'd actually like you to do something further. These closed questions and open questions actually belong to qualitative and quantitative. So once you've matched the open question to its definition, then move the 2 of them over to whether you think it is qualitative or quantitative, and then do the same with the closed question. So on the last 2, you should have 3 extra things underneath the blue heading. As you're on a roll with this matching, then let's have a look at these. We're looking at primary, which is field research. So if you remember, field research uses information that the business or enterprise finds out for itself from consumers. This information is primary, it's first hand. You've got the methods on the left and then the definitions on the right. Your job is to move these definitions on the right, just move the box and join them up with the correct method. So this is focusing on making sure that you really know the ins and outs of these methods, because the reason being, we've got a lot of detail to come onto this when it comes to coursework. And here's the revision task. What you need to do then is come up with your own revision style for the green icon squares. You need to put an image in each of those green icon squares, which for you represents what that particular method means, so that when you see that image, not only would you think of surveys, if you thought of a piece of paper with a question and a pen next to it, you'd also know that that's a survey, what type of data it can collect, and it would be primary. So all of those words would come to your mind when you see that one picture. So there's an example. You need to put those 4 icons in the green squares which represent primary market research methods. Right, now this task, it was very much on the last lesson, but I've broken it down a bit more based on some of the feedback. I've put all the statements to do with primary research in blue on the right, and your job is to actually move them to the correct column in the green table. Some of them are advantages and some of them are disadvantages, so you need to put them in the right column. So hopefully this will break it down a little bit better. The fact that you know you've got all the primary sentences there is just about seeing which is an advantage or a disadvantage of this type of research. Now it's the secondary desk research time, and remember, desk research uses information that has already been found out by someone else. We can also call it second-hand research. I've snuck in one extra method, and it's the same you've seen before, where you've got to look at the definitions on the right hand side and they're all jumbled up in the wrong way, and you need to match them and move them to the correct heading and the correct name of a method that's there on the left hand side. This is the secondary desk research revision page. This is where you're doing the icons here on the blue squares, which are going to represent secondary market research. So you need to find something that's personal to you, that shows you and reminds you that a census, what's on a census, so that you know, and that it belongs to secondary market research. Obviously, once you've done census, you're going to move on to the other 4. And this is advantages and disadvantages of secondary research. So like you've seen before on the primary one, I've organised and cut down the sentences for you, and they're all there on the right hand side. You need to make a decision on what is an advantage, a good point, and what is a disadvantage, a negative point, and you move them into the right, into the correct columns on the blue table. That's it. I did say it was nice, short and snappy, this lesson. I hope you found it a nice, short, snappy lesson. I'm not out to drown you every week. This hopefully is a revision, consolidating the last week's lesson. And obviously the quiz and assessment will focus again on market research, because this is a big topic. This is a whole piece of coursework, so we need to make this super, super secure. So well done for getting through it, and I hope it's all right. That's lesson 3 on market research methods. The quiz on Friday will be about the tasks in this lesson, and then we'll move forward on this whole topic for the next week.